Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Ask a Moorings Yacht Ownership Agent. Before introducing Christine, I want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Chris, and in addition to having been part of the Leopard family myself, I get to work with members of this community, helping share stories of adventure, curiosity, and exploration on their boat. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's session is being recorded and will be published on mooringsyachtownership.com in the coming days. In other words, don't worry about writing everything down. You'll receive an email to this video once it's published. To submit your questions at any point today, click the Q&A button at the bottom of this screen. We'll do our best to answer all of your questions, but if we run out of time, we'll share an email address at the end to submit your question. And lastly, there's a 2-question survey that will pop up after we wrap up today. We'd love your feedback so we can learn what you liked and things that we could do better in future editions. With that out of the way, let's meet Christine. Thanks so much for joining us, Christine, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christine Joseph, and I am the yacht ownership sales manager for the Moorings and Sunsail for the Americas. I am coming to you live from my living room, aka a 46 Sail Cat, newest addition to our fleet. I've been with the Moorings for over 20 years. If you've ever chartered down in the BVI, you may have met me at some point. I was living there for 13 years and now back in Florida. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we have a ton of great content. And if you do get hungry, Christine, that cake over your right shoulder does look tasty. So please save a piece for me um, by the end. So we'll do a quick refresh on how the program works. And then we'll talk a little bit about the latest addition to the fleet, the Moorings 4600. We'll go over some potential tax advantages for 2025. And then I think most importantly, we'll also spend some time on how is the Moorings different than all the other programs. So folks who are at boat shows or on websites and things for them to consider as they're on their journey to consider this as an option. And then also cover a little bit about the premium charter bases that are part of the experience. But first, I think this is always helpful, Christine, to do. Add some clarity to the conversation. Here are 3 similar looking boats with different branding, with different brands at the top. So maybe a little backstory here on how we got here.
Yeah. So one of my biggest questions I get at boat shows and when I was in BVI was, what's the difference between Moorings and Sunsail? Well, the answer is nothing. So in the beginning, there was the Moorings. Started in 1969 by Charlie and Jenny Carey. They're small base in BVI. Boats were chartering. And that is the core product of the fleet, the Moorings. 2005, we merged with Sunsail and became one of the largest charter companies in the world. The main difference between Moorings and Sunsail is the fleet. Moorings has more product, power cats, sailing cats, monohulls, crewed yachts. Sunsail is all bareboat. And because people go chartering with Moorings and Sunsail all the time, and they were like, man, these are the best boats ever, then came Leopard. People that want to buy a boat privately and not have the boat in the charter fleet, Leopard is who you will go to. I don't sell Leopard, but we can certainly put you in touch with a Leopard representative if you're interested in private ownership.
Awesome.
Okay.
Super helpful. Let's hop into the details of the program, including the guaranteed income element. Let's tell us a little bit about this.
Yes. So with the Moorings and Sunsail, I'm going to mostly say Moorings, but Sunsail is also part of this wonderful family. So when you buy the boat, you put the boat into the fleet, and you get a monthly guaranteed income based off of the purchase price of the boat. We keep the boat in the fleet for 5 years, typically 5 seasons. While the boat is in the fleet, we handle all of the cost, all of your operating costs, which includes maintenance, dockage, insurance, haul outs, anything that pertains to the upkeep of the boat and operating it is on us. Okay. We have a dedicated owner care team. that will be in touch with you as far as owner bookings, behind the scenes if maintenance is being done, haul outs, and so on. And of course, the best part of the program is the owner's use. So as an owner, you get points every year. The points equate out to 12 weeks of high season or 12 weeks of low season or 5 weeks of high season, depending on when you go. I think one of the best things about our owner use is we have no blackout dates. So there's no, times of the year that you're restricted in sailing with us. So, there's just 2 seasons, high, low. We keep it very, very simple for chartering with us. And then you just pay a small fee when you go to use the boat. You can go to the locations around the world and use a sister ship, whether it's moorings or sunsail. So if you own a moorings boat, you can use sunsail. If you own a sunsail boat, you can use the moorings.
Awesome. Great. Let's hop into one of the newest additions to the fleet, which is the 4600. Tell us, I guess I see the awards on the screen. I see some possibilities on where it could be based, but yeah, walk us through this, please.
Yes. So the newest boat, the Moorings 4600. So this boat is in both of the fleets, the Moorings and the Sunsail. So it is being built in both a 4 and a 5 cabin version. The next batches that are coming out are all going to be 4 cabins. And the nice thing about the 4 cabin is that it's an owner's layout. I can't say there's any other boat in the fleet, in any charter fleet, that is a 4 cabin layout with an owner suite. So this 4600 is really going to show off what an owner cabin with 4 cabins can do in a charter program. It's available at almost all of our locations. The Sunsail version also, it's called the Sunsail 464. Also, Sunsail 465. So we have a handful of 5 cabin, but right now we're focusing on the 4 cabins because the owner's cabin is always, in high demand.
Awesome. And then I know that folks are wanting to learn more about the details and what do the numbers look like. So walk us
Yes.
through this Proforma here, and then also there's a floor plan too that brings that layout to
Yes.
life.
Yeah. So the starboard aft on that floor plan is the dedicated owner layout. The 5 cabin has the 3 cabins on starboard, and the mid cabin is a bunk. So that's actually really nice as well. So just depending on family needs and amount of people and so on. Yeah. Okay. So this is a typical Proforma when you go on our website and you download that will come over to you. So just to go over the numbers. So this boat sells at $999,000. This particular boat is available. It's going to be based in Belize. And it's coming out of the factory next month, I think middle of September. Yeah. So to become an owner, you come up with 20% down, $199,800. If you are a U.S. citizen and you need assistance with financing, we do have a preferred lender that we can put you in touch with to get the ball rolling to get you financed. If you want to pay cash, I love cash. You can pay cash, but up to you whether you finance or pay cash. So you come up with the 20 down. As you can see, you stay in the program for term of contract in months is 57. So just shy of 5 years. Your boat will be phasing out June of 2030. And you get a monthly guaranteed income. It's a 9% return. So the monthly guaranteed income, $7,493. That's under financial breakdown there. So you will get this amount direct deposit into your bank account every month, at the end of every month, guaranteed. So whether the boat is on charter, whether it's hauled out for maintenance, whether it's in hurricane block, like most of the boats are in hurricane block right now, doesn't matter. You're going to get your 9% guaranteed income. Based on this example with the finance, currently 6.9 fixed 20-year is the term that's available. The mortgage payment is at 6191. So you're going to have positive monthly cash flow during the course of the program. We typically recommend that to keep your equity in your boat built up. Typically, most owners will take the full 9% and sock it back into the boat every month for the 5 years. If you do that, you've got your loan balance where it says there at the end of the program, 608,053. That is assuming you've applied all of the 9% back to the loan. And then we like to give you what we think the boat would be worth after the 5 years. Remember, this is very market driven. Depends on, we don't have a crystal ball to know what's going to happen in 5 years, but forecast typically we're going to say about 720. Yeah. That's it.
Couple questions that came in. One is from John, and his question is, and we can take it a couple different ways, but how is the value of the owner use determined?
Yes. So the value of the owner use. So where we come up with that number is we sort of gauge, we'll take an average of like 4 weeks high season, 4 weeks low season, what you would have paid to charter the boat over that time, over 5 years. And that's basically where that number comes from. So it fluctuates, but the break even for the ownership program, I stress all the time, especially at boat shows, the break even is about 3 weeks of sailing a year. If you think that you would come and sail with us anywhere in the world with us about 3 weeks a year, the ownership program is for you.
Great. A couple questions here. A lot. These first three are around, or first two are around financing. You mentioned a preferred lender and U.S. citizens.
Mhm.
Are there any preferred lenders or uh, folks who do this for Canadian citizens?
Yes, we do get requests for Canadian financing, but we've not found a lender that will secure Canadian financing. Unfortunately, we've been trying for years and years and years for Canadian financing, but we've just not had any luck.
Okay. And then this one goes back to the previous slide that talked about usage. Vince
Mhm.
wants to know how many weeks consecutively can be used by the owner?
Okay. Oh, and by the way, with the Canadian financing, just so you know, we have lots of Canadian owners, so there must be financing somewhere. I just don't know where it is, and I can't imagine all the Canadians are paying cash. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We have tons of Canadian owners. Yes.
Okay. So it's
Okay.
out there. Just
So
got to look for it a little bit.
right. So for the owner's use, consecutively, you could be on a boat, either yours or sister ship, 6 weeks consecutively.
Okay. Perfect. And then someone asks, is there a fee? So when you go to book owner's time, are there fees associated with that, or is it just
Yes,
how's that
yes,
work?
and that's in a document called Schedule A. I wasn't going to get into the nitty gritty, but the fee is very nominal, and it's based on the size of the boat that you buy. So, like for instance, this particular 4600, I want to say that it's called the turnaround fee. I want to say it's like $700 per charter. So whether you're going for 1 week or 6 weeks, you just pay one flat fee, and this fee is very nominal, and it includes all of your incidental things. So it includes all of your towels and your linens. If you want to stay on the dock pre and post night and plug into shore power, the use of the dinghy, the outboard with the fuel. I mean, it's basically everything but your food and beverages. So it's a very nominal amount to pay, and you get all of the amount. If you want to come back to the base after a week and get fresh towels and linens, that's also included in the turnaround fee. So it's actually well worth it for sure.
Okay. Perfect. And lots of questions coming in, so I'm gonna sift through these and not keep us moving. John wants to know, do the owners need to be bareboat certified, or can owners bring a captain? What is the cost of that, if so?
That's going to depend on which base you're going to. BVI, there's no actual paper certification required. Bahamas does have a license requirement. I think Belize does. The Mediterranean does. But typically, we have captains available at all of our locations. Again, the fee is going to depend on, I'm not in the charter division, so I'm not sure, but the fee is going to depend on which base you go to. I want to say BVI, they're right around like 280 a day, 280 to $300 a day. You can bring a captain, sure, of course. But most of our product, the core product, is bareboat. It's for sailors.
Okay. I'm gonna do rapid fire here.
Okay.
Alex wants to know, can you bring a pet, a dog with you on a
No,
boat? Okay.
no,
Eric wants to know, what if I don't want owner use? Can I get the additional revenue instead?
no.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh,
because the thing is that the boat, we calculate out like how many weeks per year we think the boat is going to get used, and we base that on turnaround time, hurricane block time, maintenance time, and so on. So the guaranteed income, even though your boat is probably packed away right now, you're still going to get that check. So you're not going to get any more money if the boat goes out more, and you're not going to get any less money if the boat doesn't go out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So
perfect sense.
yeah.
Two quick ones here. Question, would you deposit the uh, monthly guaranteed income into a Canadian bank account? Any issue with that?
Yes. No. No issues.
Okay, no issue there. And then Chris wants to know, this is a good one. After the 5 year time is up for the boat being in the program, is there a cost for the owner or any refurbishment cost to get it?
No, so we were going to cover that later with the phase out. But so after the 5 years, if you decide to keep the boat, it goes to phase out. There's no cost to you. The owner typically will pay for a survey to be done, but like let's just say the boat, there's a scratch on the side, or you open up the jib and there's a big hole in it, or whatever. I mean, we have a phase out manual, again, getting into a lot of details that if you do decide to keep it, we're certainly happy to send you the phase out manual so you can look at it, and it'll show you everything that the boat goes through when it's time for the phase out. But typically, most of those costs are covered with the moorings.
Okay, cool. There's some tax questions, which I know will be on the next slide, so I'll hold on that one.
Mhm.
Steve wants to know the 9% return is based on 9% of what? What's the 9% referencing there?
The purchase price.
Purchase price.
Annually, dispersed monthly off of the selling price.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. There are a handful of other questions here that I'm going to save for the end and sprinkle in as we go. But let's talk about the
Okay.
potential tax advantages
Okay.
and what this QR code will do if someone scans it while if they're on their phone watching this.
Yes. So if you scan that code, it'll basically answer lots of the tax benefit questions. So just as a disclaimer, I am not a tax person. I don't even do my own taxes. So yeah. So let's take whatever I say lightly. But basically, what we do is we have a tax consultant, the Worley Group, Patrick Worley, and he's also been an owner with us for quite a few boats, who we consult people, we send people to answer the questions. He does offer, a free call to guide you through like how to set it up to have active participation in the program. He'll let you know what proper documents you need to structure it as a business. I mean, and the main thing why us, and you've probably seen it advertised if you're in the sailing community, is the big beautiful bill. The tax bonus depreciation is back. So that's the main purpose. You've always been able to do this with the moorings and Sunsail, but a lot of people mislead and say, oh, because it's a guaranteed income program, it doesn't qualify, but that's not the case. So I would definitely tell you to call. You see Patrick's number there at the bottom. And then if you scan that code, because I don't want to say anything that is not true or it's not valid.
Heard. Yeah, loud and clear. No advice here, just some considerations and a
Yeah.
good resource with Patrick. Um,
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about, the difference between the moorings and other programs, but also knock out a couple questions that are popping up in the chat. What
Okay.
country is the boat registered under when folks do this?
Where you live. So, for the majority of the U.S. citizens, it's a U.S. Coast Guard documentation. Again, the lender or ourselves can put you in touch with the lady that we use to do the documentation. She charges, I want to say $850 for the full 5 years. So again, a nominal cost, and she
Mhm.
handles all the paperwork. We get the boat name, the hailing port. And that's a nice thing too. You get to pick your own boat name and then the hailing port, and then we get all that she'll help you through that process. Same with Canadians. We refer people to Transport Canada. And I don't know what their fee is, but it's pretty nominal as well, last I checked, and they can help with that. We just had a gentleman that lives in Chile. He bought a boat, and he's going to do BVI registration. It's a little more complicated with BVI registration, only because of the red tape and the paperwork and setting up a business and all this kind of stuff. But it was probably easy than Chile, I think. So yeah.
That's fair. Two questions that are related about fractional ownership. One is just, hey, do you see that come through, like, a couple parties coming and buying the boat together? And if that is a possibility, how does it work for the owners' weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I'd like to cover. So when people buy a boat with the moorings or Sunsail, a lot of times they will partner up. So like Chris and I will buy a boat together. We'll maybe form an LLC. He comes up with 50% of the deposit. I come up with 50% of deposit, and then we split everything. We have no problem doing that. Now we don't put people together. Like we're not gonna like set you up with some stranger to own the boat, but we do allow multiple owners. We try to keep it maximum four. I mean, that's difficult enough with paperwork. So forming an LLC if you have partners is probably a good idea, which is typically, even I think for tax purposes, Patrick advises it. So yes, we can certainly let you own as a small group of people.
And then how do the owners week work? Do they just manage it as a group and then block it
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the owner care team will get the name of the, so like I did a boat last year at Palm Beach, and I want to say was it two couples that did it. So we had Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Jones listed as owners. So when you call up the owner booking rep, he has your names listed, and then you guys can book your time. So you divide it up however you want. Your time is your time. So John is the owner booking rep. He keeps track of your points. So when you're out of points, you're out of points.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, let's definitely spend some time here because I know
Yeah.
that as folks are on this journey, they're looking at different programs. So it's definitely great to spend a little bit of time here. One of the key pieces that we're talking about before here is that these boats are purpose built for this function, right? So,
Mhm.
Christine, maybe tell us a little bit about that and some of the other differences.
Yes. So this is one of the things that I really want to stress on, and because I've been with the company for so long, I see it day in and day out. With the other charter companies, and I don't like to talk bad about any charter companies because living in BVI for so long, I knew everybody that worked at the other companies. So it wasn't like so the whole idea is when the moorings so we are the exclusive dealer for Robertson and Kane in Cape Town, South Africa. So all of our boats are built in the factory, put on a freighter, and sent to the location. Yeah, they typically drop in BVI, and then we disperse them to the other. And when we build them for chartering because that's what we do. We're a premier charter company, so we build the boats for toughness and for to focusing on what charter people say with the generators and the AC and the underwater lights and all the nav equipment versus the other programs. The companies are typically managed by a boat dealer whose main business is yacht sales and not really chartering. So you go there to buy a boat and you talk to one of the brokers and you buy the boat and you say, I want to put it in the fleet. So when they buy the boat, they spec it out how they want it because they're typically buying it. They're really realistically, they're buying it privately and putting it into a charter fleet. So they're going to build it how they want it. They're going to say, I want this and I want that. And it may not typically be a charter. So this is I think the biggest thing to realize and understand is when the Moorings being the global leader of yacht chartering, the boats are built for chartering is the point we need to really stress to people versus the other programs that it's a private boat put into a fleet.
Awesome. One piece here, and I think this is an appropriate place to cover it with KKR and Global Leader. There's a question that came up earlier that says, "Hey, what happens if my boat is damaged by a storm or is taken out of service for a long time?"
Mm-hmm.
Are some examples of that happening with some storms in the last few years or so? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, and we we did this in the last webinar because it was sooner the storms had occurred. But yes, I mean that's one of the other things too is the Moorings carries top insurance on all of our yachts. If you start doing your research and investigating, I always encourage people to look at the fine print of some of the other contracts that you're going to get into when getting into some sort of ownership programs. Um, to my knowledge, Moorings is the only company with insurance that we're allowed to charter year round in the BVI. The other companies, you may see a clause where the boat has to move to a certain latitude, longitude during the active hurricane months, or it's not covered by the insurance. If it's a named storm, it's a Cat 3 or something like that, it's not covered by the insurance. So these are things you have to be very careful about. Um, if there are people on this call that have been chartering many times, or even there's probably some owners on this call, and if a storm comes and your boat gets wiped out, the insurance is going to kick in. So the insurance policy typically covers a percentage of the cost of the boat. The first 2 years, it's 100%, third year 85, fourth year 75, and so on. So it more than covers the depreciation on the boat. If the boat needs to be repaired, that happened with many of our boats after Irma and Dorian. If it's on the hard getting repaired, the owners still got their checks and they just went sailing on somebody else's boat. So
Yeah.
feel pretty strong that that's what we've been doing for 56 years. So yeah.
Great. This next question, I think, is a perfect segue to this slide here. So Robert says, does the purchase price include everything, electronics, water maker,
Yes.
dinghy, generator, all the things?
Yes, it includes everything. Not that the owners always have use of a dinghy, but the dinghy doesn't belong to that boat. We have a big old yard of dinghies. I call it the graveyard of dinghies, and we just replenish the dinghy fleet every few years. But as an owner, you always have the use of the dinghy. But if you keep your boat, the dinghy doesn't come with it. But everything else, yes, all nav equipment, dishes, pots and pans, lines, fenders, all of that stuff stays with the boat. Yes.
Great. And then
Gen-
how does that compare to other programs, or what might, if folks
Yeah,
are
so there you
considering how
go. Same thing, whatever that owner put on that boat, and then depending on how long his contract is, it may be his boat gets put into the charter fleet and maybe nobody really wants to charter it because it doesn't have, I don't know, a generator or underwater lights or a water maker or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is where that's going to affect if they're in a program that's either a some type of variable program, or a lot of the other companies, to my knowledge, don't offer a guaranteed income. But if they are doing a percentage of the charter, it depends on their activity on the boat. So it's a bit risky. It's a bit much more risk than a guaranteed income program.
Yeah. I know this one firsthand from having having had a leopard, and how roomy the engine room
Yes.
is and how easy the systems are to access, and all of that. But translate that to what that means for this particular application in a charter program.
Yeah. So what we mean by simplified maintenance is um, we want to keep the boats basically uniformed and being the exclusive dealer of Robertson and Kane, when we need a part, guess what? It's a Robertson and Kane part. So all of the fleet, it's easier for us to store parts when all of the parts are similar. So all of the monohulls, Veneto to Dufour, and now all the cats, Robertson and Kane. So it's much easier to store parts, change parts, get parts, versus again, your other charter company, they brag that we've got lagoons, we've got Pontepejots, we've got all the makes of the Bali's. But when it's time for your charter, if something broke on that boat and they're waiting for a part to come in, chances are you got to get moved to another boat or whatever may happen. So this is the whole idea with the simplified maintenance. We like to keep it pretty standard as far as parts and so on.
I want to knock out some questions that are related to this a little bit. So John wants to know, what about liability or even just damages that happen when someone uses the boat? How does that work?
Yes. So like I said, all operating expenses, same
Yeah.
thing. If somebody runs your boat up on the rocks, then yeah, we'll fix it unless it has a big hole and it sinks. Then insurance will kick in. So yes, all of the maintenance, insurance, dockage, anything that pertains to the upkeep of the boat, because it's a charter boat and things will happen. I mean, there's no hiding the fact that things are going to need to be fixed on the boat. And typically, after every charter, the clients the sailors will go through a hit list and they'll say, hey, was this broken, that broken, and so on. And we try to get all that, repaired and fixed and so on.
Cool. Two quick insurance ones here. Uh, what sort of indemnification is offered if someone gets hurt on the boat?
Right.
Yeah.
So, same thing. I mean, it's in the charter fleet. It's not on the owner. So if they get like if they go down there and somebody and it's happened, somebody gets hit by the boom and falls off and drowns or something, then yes, then they are required to purchase insurance. It's mandatory on the charter side of it. For owners, it depends on most of the owners do what we call a security deposit. I'm not going to get into a lot of big detail, but basically the insurance that the charter guests carry will cover that. It's not on the owner.
Got it. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about where you can go, right? So I'm in the program. I'm excited to go sailing around the world. What's that look like?
Yes. So again, if everybody's been on the Moorings website, we've got locations, some great locations worldwide where the owners can access. There's not much restrictions for the owners. We've got Greece and Croatia. We've got Seychelles, Thailand, Tahiti, Belize, and then we've got all of the Caribbean. We've got from Bahamas, Tortola, St. Martin, Antigua, St. Lucia, Grenada. We've pretty much got you covered, and your points are good at all of those locations. Again, John is the booking rep. When you're ready to go, you call him up or email him and say, "Hey, I want to book some time in Greece," and so on. And then, yeah, it's a pretty easy process actually.
Nice.
And
I
then
had
same thing. The other program it says here restricted availability. Again, same thing. When people buy a boat privately, they may say, "I want my boat in BVI because that's going to generate the most revenue." So it's a bit limited. They don't have if they have other locations, you'll be lucky if somebody says, "Okay, put my boat in Belize or put my boat in Grenada," or put. Whereas with the Moorings and Sunsail, we we say this is where the boat is going to live, and then you buy the boat, so you don't get to pick where the boat goes. But the beauty of it is that, well, what does it matter? You get to go sailing on boats all over the world. So most owners, I tell them, don't get hung up on the location of your boat, because you have access to all of them. You're going to get to your boat at some point in the 5 years. So don't get hung up on, oh, it's got to be in Belize or it's got to be in BVI, because all of the locations are absolutely stunning. So and same maintenance schedules and same everything.
nice. So this is, I think, is just a little bit more on that topic. So cover this one or anything that you haven't yet
Yep.
covered. You don't
Yeah.
have to
12 weeks owner
question.
use. Yeah. No impact on the, yeah, of course. And again, no impact on the payment. Again, with the other program, if they block time and it's in high season, that's lost revenue for them if they had charter guests. So again, same thing. It's so flexible. If you go in high season, we don't have any blackout days. So you can use that time. Don't feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to go for Christmas because, I could have made money on it, because the 9% is guaranteed regardless. So that's the great part about the owner use.
Great. I'm going to knock out some questions here.
Okay.
Rick wants to know, can we keep the boat in the program after the initial 5 years? I assume the answer is no, right? Because everyone wants new boats in the fleet and depreciation does the thing and all that.
Chris, you're hired. Yes, that's exactly right. We like to keep the fleet fresh. So we feel 5 years is kind of like a motor car. 5 years is when stuff starts to go wrong. So no, but typically 5 years, 5 seasons, we feel over the years, that's when it's the sweet spot to sort of phase that boat out. Because, newer boats are coming in with more nicer equipment and somebody doesn't want the older boat and so on.
Brandon wants to know, is he able to monetize any of the 12 weeks of their personal use outside of the moorings?
Is he
Uh,
able to what?
to monetize, like basically resell his weeks.
Oh, good question. Good question. Yes, I didn't cover that. So there is a clause in the owner use. Thanks for bringing that up. That 2 weeks of low season use per year, you can either sell, donate, give it away. Christine is happy to take it off your hands, and so on, per year, where the owner doesn't have to be on the boat.
Okay, perfect. So this segues into Garrett has a question. Does the owner have to be on the boat when using owner time? So that is exactly what you
Well,
just said.
yes, with the owner time, yes, one of the owners. So again, if you partner up, one of the owners needs to be there. But for that 2 weeks low season, no, that
Okay.
you if you want to sell it or whatever.
Okay, perfect. That covers Marcus's question too.
Donate. A lot of owners donate, which is great too. Good old tax write-off.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll continue on here to the just the operating cost and the full picture of what this looks like.
Yes. Yes. So let's repeat ourselves and say zero operating costs. So just to stress, maintenance, insurance, dockage, all covered by the moorings. Um, on the other programs, again, I've seen it where they basically have to expense the dockage, the maintenance, insurance is a huge factor. So the fact that we cover insurance is and top insurance is a really big plus to owning a boat with the mooring. So yeah, so again, with the other programs, just be sure to check into exactly what you're getting into as far as the cost for your extra stuff. Because remember, your boat is not in your backyard or in the state where you live. So, you have to be sure that these expenses that they're billing you for are accurate and keep track of the receipts and all this kind of stuff. Whereas with Moorings and Sunsail, it doesn't matter. We cover
Okay. And I think we talked about this a little bit on an earlier slide, but anything you want to cover here that we didn't cover previously before we
it.
hop into
Guaranteed
questions?
income. Yeah, same thing. Guaranteed income. Income is stable, dependable. Okay. Yes. Again, only the stress the other programs, if you're not on a guaranteed income program, it's the opposite. You're going to get some operating expenses that maybe you didn't bargain for. What about the person who, takes your boat and runs it on a reef and it's out of commission for a couple months while it's getting parts and being repaired? You're not getting any revenue. So yeah, those again, that's why I always consider those programs, if all is well and your boat charters and there's never any damages and it's a perfect world, it may work out great, but it's very high risk. The,
Yeah.
the risk is where you need to decide if you want to do that.
So we've talked about some key differences. We talked about, no blackout dates when it comes to owner use and
Hmm.
flexibility with bases around the world. We've talked about, purpose-built boats that are uniform and all the same. So when it comes to either maintenance or their desirability from a charter standpoint, everything is pretty uniform. The other piece here is there are, some bases that are pretty stunning. I remember that we were going through this during our run.
Yes.
Touch on
Yes.
this a little bit and why does it matter for folks who are considering joining the program?
Yeah. So again, if anybody's on this webinar and have sailed with the moorings or sun sail, this is like one of my special areas that, and again, maybe just from living in BVI that I love talking about because our charter bases are actual charter bases. I mean, like full amenities, docks, restaurants, or located somewhere in a town. I mean, they're actual bases, most of them owned by the moorings versus the competition is probably renting a couple docks from somebody and that's it, no facilities. If you've been to the BVI, it's the largest charter base in the world of any company. We've got 350 plus boats just in the BVI, restaurants. We have our own grocery store. There's a pool. I mean, so it's like above and beyond the nice bays. But I've been to almost all. I mean, St. Martin I did in December, and it was lovely. I mean, there's you can walk across the street and go to restaurants. The grocery store is right there. So that's one thing about the charter bases. They're actual charter bases that you enjoy going to, and you don't feel like you're going into some shady place that
Yeah,
and the boat is sitting there with nobody to show you. So yeah, it's pretty nice. The majority of the bases.
that's great.
Yeah.
All right. This slide I think will be helpful to go over, and there are probably a handful of questions in the chat that
Okay.
people want to know what happens at the end. So
Okay.
give us an
So
overview, and then I'll follow up with some questions.
yeah. So at the end, so you got three choices: keep it, sell it, trade it in for a new boat. So the majority of our owners, um, as many boats as I've sold, I don't think I've had any owner that's only done one boat. So I would say the percentage of owners that trade in for a new boat is pretty high. I would say somewhere between 60, 65% maybe. It's pretty high. So they loved the program. They thought it was great. So the trade-in is the easier of the options, only because it's pretty seamless. So at the end of the 5 years, you're like, hey, Christine, oh my God, we love you. We want another boat. What we'll do is you'll hand over the title. And then we take the responsibility of selling your old 5-year-old boat. And then you move into your new, 2026 model. And what we'll do is if you took a loan, we'll, get your payoff up against your new price boat. So typically owners that sock their 9% back into the boat over the 5 years, and again, this is all very market driven, but just in my experience, typically you'll have a little bit of equity built into the boat. I mean, worst case, break even, but again, depending on the market. But the majority of them usually have some sort of a little equity. So if you're a very conservative owner, have one owner that every month he gets his check because he doesn't have to come out of pocket for the next 5 years. He might add a little extra. Most of those loans don't have any prepayment penalties. So he'll sock in a little bit more money. And kind of when it comes up at the end of the 5 years, he's got enough equity in the boat where he probably won't have to come anything out of pocket towards the 20% down of the new boat. So it all depends on the owner. It's all up to you, but the trading in process is fairly seamless. So you hand over title and you go into your new boat. If you want to sell it, we have a full-on brokerage office right here in Dania Beach in Florida. And they specialize in selling all of the Leopard, Robertson and Kane mooring sunsail boats. So they'll get the boat listed. The nice thing about it is that we have the brokers in St. Lucia and Tortola. So if your boat's in the Caribbean, they can get all the pictures done and get it listed and set it up. Or you keep it. Keeping it, you go through phase out. Like I said, there's a phase out manual you will get. If you decide you're going to keep it, you review it, and then you'll get with the owner care team and then go through your phase out process.
All right. Ready for some questions?
Sure.
All right. Norman wants to know if they decide to sell the yacht at the end of the contract through the brokerage, what's the standard commission rate?
Yeah, so the standard commission is 10%. That's standard at anybody's broker.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a couple these questions are going to be a little bit
and that's net on the Proforma, by the way. That's already with the broker commission taken off. If you're looking at the resale, that's net.
I'll pop right back over there just as a quick reference.
Yeah. So it says estimated net resale value at the end. So that's already with the broker commission.
That's a less commission already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Next question here is on just the owner usage. So you mentioned earlier the 2 weeks that can be used by others. You mentioned a restriction on low season. So 2 weeks can be used during others or by others during low season. Is it available at all during high season or just those 2 weeks during low?
No, 2 weeks low. And let's clarify real quick. So with the moorings and sunsail, we only have 2 seasons, high and low. So just so you know, in the Caribbean, I'm going to use the Caribbean locations, Tortola, St. Martin, St. Lucia, Grenada, and Belize, etc. High season starts from the middle of December 16, and runs until April 15. And then low season is April 16 to December 15. So there's quite a bit of high and low. So think about it. If you want to sell your time over Thanksgiving, it's low season. It's really just mainly for Christmas, New Year's, and that, sort of spring breaky or whatever. But it starts from mid-April till mid-December. So it covers quite a bit of time, quite a bit of allowance for low season.
Okay, great. And is it use it or lose it when it comes to the weeks if you don't use it, the points in the annual periods?
Yes, you betcha. So the points have no dollar value attached to it. It's just time on the water. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I haven't used every single one of you get 84 points total. I haven't used all of my points. Don't feel bad. They don't roll over. But just calculate out how much time you need to feel like you've gotten the worth of the program. And like I said previously, that's about 3 weeks of sailing is the sweet spot. Because if you were to calculate out 3 weeks of sailing a year over 5 years, take an average of high and low, that you're well into your down payment that you out of pocketed. So that's kind of a nice way to look at it.
Okay. A couple of folks asking if they can get a recording of this or a replay of it. We'll send an email to everyone who registered with a link to this video in the next week or so.
Mhm.
We'll publish it online, so keep an eye out for that. Chris wants to know in terms of booking time, how far in advance do you generally need to book and when do weeks get sold out? I know it all
Okay.
depends, but what have you seen?
Yeah. So for booking, so again, John is the booking rep. He's been with the company for 27 years. The owners love him. So I when I first started out, I was in vacation planning, and the system we used, golly, I could book 4 years out. So it was pretty extensive. But yes, you can book. I want to say, I think the booking thing is like 4 years out. So there's no restriction. I mean, if you want to book your boat every Christmas for the next, 4 years, have at it. It's pretty flexible in that regard. So the points that we give you, half of them are advanced booking points, and then half are short notice points. So short notice is like 2 weeks or 16 days out that you can book. So say, for instance, you're going to be going to BVI and it's maybe June and it's fairly low season. We've got a ton of boats there. Maybe save your short notice points for that, because chances are, you know, 98% of the time you're going to get a boat, because, there's always a boat in the BVI. Versus like advanced booking points, owners like to use that for like Greece or Tahiti, the bases that are smaller, and it just takes more time to plan it and get your flights and that kind of stuff. But again, if short notice points, it doesn't matter. If you're going to a base where your boat's not there anyway, who cares? As long as there's a boat, you could just take it. Stop on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another detailed question just on owner usage. So let's say that I have a 4600 in the fleet
Yep.
and I want either a power cat or a larger boat. How does that how does that value exchange work with
I
what
knew
I
that
have and
question.
what
I knew that question was coming. Okay, so when you buy the boat, depending on the size you buy, you get put into a group. So um, anything 42 foot and under is Group C, 43 to 45 is Group B, and then 46 to 51 is Group A. So if you bought a 46, you could use a 50. If you bought a 42, you can't use the 46 or the 50. So basically, there's a couple feet difference, because you can always upgrade one group. Yeah, so we do allow you to upgrade a group. So like if you owned a 42 and you wanted to take the 45, you can. If you own the 45 and you wanted to take the 50, you can. So we have to at least have some sort of restriction, because think about it. Everybody would buy a 32-foot monohull if they knew they could, sail a 50-foot sail cat. Then we'd never sell them. So if you buy the smallest cat, then yes, you're going to be restricted to like a mid-sized cat. Some people buy the biggest cat and then they can take whatever boat they want. If you buy a sail cat, you get 2 weeks of low season, short notice on a power cat, depending, again, the size. We have the 40 and the 46, so depending on the group. The beauty of the power cat program, which I like, is any power cat owner can use the sailing cats without any restriction. And the reason we do that, meaning like, let's just say you buy the 46 power cat, that would already be in Group A, so it's kind of in the largest group. Yeah. So you can use any of the sailing cats like 50 and under. And the main reason we do that is because not all of the moorings locations have power cats, but they all have sail cats. So we don't want to restrict an owner of a power cat to only power cat locations. Prime example, Belize doesn't have power cats. Tahiti doesn't have power cats. And that might be about it. I think
Okay.
all the others. Yeah. So there's some locations that don't, maybe in the Med. I think the Med has power cats. So there's some locations that don't have power cats. So the owner of a power cat can go to Tahiti and just take an equivalent sail cat is what I'm getting at.
Okay, that makes sense. There are a handful of questions here about the value at the end of the program of the boat.
Hmm.
People wanting to be on the right side of it, or maybe looking at the value and saying, hey, that feels low. And you
Yeah.
mentioned a few times and probably qualified as, hey, it's market driven. But what's some advice that folks should consider, right? Because I'm using the boat all these weeks during the program, right? There's
Yeah.
value if I
Yes.
look at the big picture. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when you're ready to come out of the program and you're thinking about trading up for a new boat, and I get this with some of my owners over the years. So um, there are things that you have to factor in. It's not always about money for money. Like, oh, the market's not that great. My trade value might be a bit low. Christine, how come my trade value is low? You said it would be blah blah blah. But again, so we point out that it's market driven, and owners, um, and prospective owners, you guys need to understand that there's a lot of other things you have to factor in over the 5 years. So I would sit with an owner and I'd say, how many times did you go sailing? Because when I lived in BVI, I used to see them all the time. So they would come down there at least 5, 6 times a year. And they don't factor that in. They don't factor in these vacations that would have cost them probably 25, 30K a week. I know you bought the boat, but you also got a 9% guaranteed income over the years. We took care of all your bills. And, so all of these things have to be factored in when it's time to trade up. We took good care of you. We maintained your boat. We gave you sailing time all over the world. So, if you look at your trade value and it might be a little low, it might be because, I could tell you back in the COVID days, a trade value, your boat was worth 110% of what you bought it for, but then those days are over and the market has slowed and nobody knows what's going to happen with the tax law or the this or that. So there's so many variables that come into play, but I like people to understand that you need to factor in the good things, the good times you had, the priceless vacations you took with your family and your friends and so on. Those are the things you also have to keep in mind when it's time for you to trade up. I hope you understand what I'm kind of, trying to
Yeah.
say as far
The
as yeah.
bigger picture, you're getting value along the way. It's not
Yeah.
just price at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I take full advantage of the moorings. I go sailing 2 weeks a year, when I can. So yeah, it's all about the worth and if people on this call have not chartered with the moorings before, I would highly recommend you book a sailing holiday. I mean, they're absolutely fun and they're the most relaxing time that you could do it. I mean, I'm guessing most of you have if you're looking at
Yeah.
the ownership program. So yeah.
Frank wants to know where he can where can he find more information about how the point system works, just for owner usage? Is
Yeah,
that
just shoot me. I think you could shoot me an email. That's fine, and I can send you what the document is called Schedule A. So,
okay?
and it just shows how all the point system and so on. And it's yeah, it's open information. We could send you that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Let me find one here. There's some tax questions in here that I'll refer to the folks we mentioned earlier, the
yes,
Worley group, in terms of getting some good guidance
yeah,
from.
and and we can. I would definitely consult with Patrick, and he's been getting quite a few calls on because his name is now on the Proforma with the with his Whirly group. So he's been fielding some calls and doing some good coaching for us.
Jason wants to know, does the Moorings have the ability to relocate the boat outside of the initial base that it was sold into?
That's a pretty good question. So when we um, buy the boats from the factory, we have like behind the scenes, we have this guy that sits there and he's the fleet revenue guy. And he sits there with probably, I don't know, I don't want his job, but this big board that probably has all these locations and he has to plug in. So we look at what boats are leaving, what boats are coming in, how is the market there, how are bookings. when is it, and he basically plugs in where we need the boats. And then I get a sales plan as the sales manager, and my boss says, Christine, I need you to sell this many boats. Here are the locations, have at it. So with that said, typically I've not seen a lot of boats get moved. I mean, you cannot call up and your sales rep and say, hey, I bought a boat in St. Martin. Can I move it to Tortola? No, it doesn't work that way, because chances are that boat probably has bookings on it. But there's been occasional times where and it does say it in your agreements that you sign when you buy the boat, that we have the liberty to move the boat in case we need to. It doesn't happen that often, but like, I remember after the storms, we had to bring in some boats from other locations to cover
Yeah.
charters, that kind of stuff. So no, I mean, the answer is no, but there are times where the boat may get moved because of demand or something like that. Does that answer? Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Christine, tell us where you'll be upcoming boat shows. So Newport was a specific question. What else will you
Yeah,
be?
we won't be at Newport this year. We did Newport last year, but Annapolis is the biggest. Well, Annapolis and Miami. So Annapolis, come see me. I'll be in Annapolis. The show is the October 9th to the 12th. And it's going to be great. So we're going to have quite a few boats on display. Um, the 46th, the monohull, and then another big surprise. Yeah, so Annapolis, Miami's in February, that you can come and meet everybody. We're all going to be there. All of the sales reps, the owner booking rep, the owner care team. Yeah, we're all on hand to help you out. Help you buy a
Okay.
boat.
There's one piece that came up in some of the questions here. Someone specifically mentioned the owner's flotilla. We've talked about, you've been with the company for a long time. There are folks that you referenced down in BVIs who have been with the company for a long time. What's the value, the community element that is part of this that might be overlooked?
Yeah. Oh, and Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. I forgot that one. We'll be at Flibs as well. I was just reminded we will be at Flibs. And then we do Palm Beach Boat Show too. That's in March. So the nice thing about, again, maybe because, I've been here so long. So like every year, a lot of companies, I don't know of any company that does an owner's flotilla. And if there's any owners on this call, give a shout out. If they were on the flotilla, they love it. So what we do is every year we put together, myself and Zoe and the marketing girls, we plan this flotilla, and it's super fun. It's usually BVI because we have the most boats there, and it's the biggest area. And the owners sign up. We have to limit the boats to about 20 boats, and it sells out, and it's so much fun. It's a week of just games and fun and, contests, and I don't know any company that does that. And it's just, when people join the ownership program, I want them to know that they're sort of joining, the Moorings family. We've been around for 56 years. I mean, and I've been with the company almost half of that. So, I want people to know that the longevity of employees at the company, to me, just speaks volumes of a place to work. If you've been to BVI at the base, I mean, oh my gosh, the Dock Master McNeil, he's been there 45 years. And the girl in finance, she's 43 years, and so on. My manager, he just retired. He was here 46 years. So, it's just crazy how long nobody leaves. I'm not sure what's going on, but none of us leave the company and then if we leave, we come back. So, yeah. So, feel like you're part of this family because of the fact that we all hang out and we're all friends. And, it's not like, even though most of us work remote now, we still have an office in Clearwater that every now and then we'll visit and so on. But we all stay in touch. We all love meeting at the shows, and yeah. So as an owner, you'll be invited to certain, like the Annapolis Boat Show Friday night. We have an owners party, and the owners love it. They all come. If you're coming to the show, if you can make Annapolis Boat Show, I always recommend Friday is a good day. If you're seriously thinking about the program, you can speak to owners. They'll tell you about their experience in the program. They're all going to be walking around, bugging me as usual, but it's lovely. And then right at the end of the show, we have a little party and we thank them and give them some drinks and some food. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think, hearing from real people who are in the program
Yes.
is always so powerful and
Yeah,
effective in
for
terms of
sure. For sure.
making a big decision like this.
Yeah.
Two
They're
quick
our
ones,
best referrals for sure.
two lightning round ones, and then we'll wrap it
Okay.
up. One is just around what determines the age of the boat. It's the model year of the boat versus the purchase date. Like, what's the anniversary of when it becomes 5 years old?
Oh, so typically, like any of the boats that are coming out of the factory now, what are we in August? So any of the boats coming out of the factory after like July, I think, is the next year's model.
Okay.
So it would be a 2025 purchase, but the model year would be 26. So the cutoff is right around like June, July. I want to say it's July.
Okay.
Anything after July coming out of Robinson and Kane is the next year's
And
model.
the anniversary of when it's a 5-year contract based on the anniversary date of the purchase date, anniversary of the purchase.
Yeah, we try to get in like
Yep.
5 high seasons. So one
Yeah.
of the deterrents is like, we don't like to end the contracts in the height of the hurricane season. So it's always like if you close on a boat in September, October, November, it's just shy of the 5 years because we just don't want to,
Have a boat
ending a
just
contract in
sitting
September
there
is,
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah,
Makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Last quick one here is this goes back to the owner's usage. Do different destinations have different point values, or are they all the same?
all the same,
All the
just
same.
high and low. Mhm.
Awesome. Perfect. Christine, this has been great. There are a handful of questions that we did not get into,
Okay,
that we did not get to, I should say. There's some tax ones that we'll refer to the Royally Group, but some good questions here that we'd love
okay,
to answer. So the information on the screen will get directly to someone on the team,
okay.
answer any questions. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And then for folks who are still with us, keep an eye out for the 2-question survey that will pop up as soon as we end this webinar.
Okay. So, Chris, can I answer some of the questions after the webinar is done on the thing or no?
The Q&A will go away.
Okay.
Um, so if we didn't get to them, uh,
Okay.
just shoot a note here I think this QR code goes directly to you. Uh,
Okay.
email
Yeah,
address.
because there's a couple here about the loan and stuff. So yeah, if you want to email me, that's fine. The people that if they're still on here, if you want to shoot them over to me, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for seeing. Always appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks everybody. See you
All
in
right. See you
Annapolis.
next time. All right. Bye.